Hi there, welcome back. So in today's video, we're going to use all these lovely things you can see in front of you. Notice I'm sporting a new pair of gloves. They're a bit thick, they're a bit cumbersome, but they're quite good. So I've shown you some mica powder, some shells, some beautiful shells. Look at those. Some ammonite molds on the top left there. You may have seen us use those before. If not, why not check out our videos in our playlist. And also this really lovely deep coaster mold, which is from Let's Resin. Going to also try and incorporate some of this white sand. Now, I may or may not do that, but also some of these gorgeous little gold coloured pieces, perhaps some chrome powder. And here we go, kicking off straight away. Step number 1. Getting a dry bristled brush. Now this is actually an old makeup brush that I had, that I cleaned. And just dotting on, this is the chrome powder, the gold chrome powder. Just any which way you like. Of course, you can just cover all of these, the base of these moulds in the chrome powder or not, totally up to you. So I then go in with the brush. Obviously this bit of the video has been sped up, and just happily just adding in the chrome powders. I've also added in the mica powder there, and then I take a much fatter brush. Oh yeah, mustn't forget the white one too. I take a much fatter brush and burnish it on to the mold. So all that's meant by that term is just thoroughly brushing everything into the surface of the mold. There you go. You can see what I've done there. Just thoroughly mixing it all in, and then any excess that I got, I turned the whole mould upside down onto a piece of paper, gave it a good tap, and so that got rid of any of the loose mica powder, and I poured that into a separate container. So still got a slight dusting here of I think that was the final white powder, yeah, and just thoroughly tapping it. Now, spoiler alert, I actually cleaned this mould after this because I wasn't happy with the effect. I wanted more of an ombre effect and not a dotted effect. So I cleaned out all the mould and started again. And I used the gold chrome powder and the gold mica powder. So here you can see me going over it again. So this is the mould once I've cleaned it out, and this is me going over it again. Apologies for the lighting. I don't know what was going on. We were battling with natural sunlight, which is always lovely, and also artificial light and glare reflection and all sorts. So my apologies for that. But there we are. We've applied the chrome mica powder, which is the gold colour, and then we're going in with that beautiful Olympic gold mica powder. So as usual, anything that we've used in today's video will be linked in the description box below. So here's a little bit of a close-up of the effect that I wanted in this mould. So it's a bit more of an ombre-ish sort of look. There we go. Look. La la la. There we are. So, decisions. Now you may have seen in a previous video of our octopus bowls parts 1 and 2 where we poured some resin into the ammonite molds, and we were successful and not successful. We ended up having to do them twice. So of course the ones I had left over, I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to include them in this project, so you will see that shortly. In the meantime, we've mixed up some regular epoxy resin. It's a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. The brand we use is T-Expert. That's just because that's a brand that we know how it behaves. Another good brand to use would be Let's Resin, and also by a brand called Mold. They're all excellent resins to use. So added in some white pigment paste, or liquid I should say, into the epoxy resin. Hardly any resin here as well, I might add. Hardly used any resin. I think about 10 mils for each coaster, that was all. Also added in some of the mica powder there. Mixed it in. Realised I hadn't got anywhere near enough that I needed. We'll see in a moment. There we go, look. It's just not enough, and in fact, let's be sensible and move the moulds out the way whilst we're using or mixing up resin. So here we go. I'm going to pop in a much larger amount of the little additives. It's like mixing up a potion, this. So rather than add more mica powder, I've actually added the glitter. The glitter. Look at the way that sparkles across the surface of the resin. So that was the gold. This is the holographic fine silver mica powder. A real potion I'm mixing up here. And look, a bit more. Why not? Never have too much glitter. Unless you've spilt it on the floor and then it's way too much glitter. But there you go. I'm sure we've all been there at some point or another in our crafting journey. So it's dispersing quite nicely across the top of the resin. Just going to add a little something extra. Here we are. This is this lovely white mica powder. It's got an iridescence to it again. A bit sort of aurora borealis or the northern lights sort of effect. Some people call it an interference powder perhaps, but obviously it's up to you. If you want to do all of this, you could just stick with the white pigment paste and stir that in. So there we go, gently mixing it all across the surface first and then into the resin itself. So it looks almost like it's all disappeared perhaps, but trust me, it hasn't. It's actually quite subtle. Once it's completely cured, everything that I've put in there gives quite a subtle effect, but it all adds to it. It's a bit like when you're cooking and you build up layers of flavour to make your finished dish. So this was what I felt like with this. So there's those beautifully beautiful looking moulds there with all that lovely gold chrome powder and the mica powders. And then just carefully, steadily and slowly pouring in the epoxy resin mixture to each of the moulds as equally as possible. So you're only aiming for about 1 or 2 mils depth worth of coverage of the bottom of the mould. So I just thought, now I need to try and help it to the outside of the mould. I didn't want to use a stir stick or anything else because I didn't want to risk marking or scratching the bottom of the moulds and therefore lifting some of that beautiful golden lovely powder. So I'm just manipulating the mould itself to get the resin to go out to the very edges. There we are. You can see how thin this coating of resin is. There we go. Obviously, if you've made up a little bit too much, keep a little mould to one side that you can fill up, like a little bear mould or something. So this was actually the following day and it's completely cured, and I have no idea what's going on with the light because it now looks hazy. But these were the ammonites that we made up previously. There we go. So I'm just at this stage deciding what ones I'm going to put where. So just taking my time to arrange them where I wanted them. Deciding, obviously, because these are all various sizes as well. And as I've said before, the link to these, the moulds for these ammonites will be in the description box. They're by Red Hot Moulds on Etsy. Just in case I don't put the link, but I'm sure I will. So they come in a range of sizes. They also do the inlays as well. You will have seen the inlays in our octopus bowl moulds videos, part 1, part 2. We've also got them where we use them again in another video coming up this Sunday. So don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe and the notification all so that you are notified when our next video comes out. At the moment, twice a week on a Friday and a Sunday at 5 PM UK time. So just to say thank you again if you've joined us today, if you're in the live chat for the premiere, hi to everybody. Hope you've had a fantastic week. Looking forward to the weekend. I know we are. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, why not click subscribe button? It's free to do so. And if you haven't, you do need to have a YouTube account for that. But, you know, that's just an email. Again, that doesn't cost anything. And yeah, we just hope you enjoy our videos. Usually how-to videos, similar to this one. Vary in length of time, anything from 10 or 12 minutes through to half an hour, depending on what we're actually doing, how many steps are involved. We sometimes get involved with collaborations with other groups of artists as well. So there we go. So all I've done is I've put the UV resin onto the base of the ammonite. Now, This I know we are going to use a bit like you would glue. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from using glue that's suitable for sticking resin to cured resin. That's absolutely fine. You can do that if you prefer. But we're going to use the UV resin because these shells are not opaque. They are see-through. We made them using regular epoxy resin and a shed load of glitter. A lot of glitter, but light does travel through enough with a UV curing light to be able to cure them. So here I am, just this again, this has been sped up, just going in with the rest of the ammonites and popping them in with the UV resin there, acting like the glue. There we go. So that's actually worked out quite well. We did have a couple left over, but obviously I've kept them for another project. So yeah, just to say, the gloves I'm wearing are a little bit cumbersome, but they are suitable for if you work with chemicals. So they're that sort of grade. They're very high grade. So these aren't the kind that you would throw away after use. You do need to just wash them off, wash them with soap and water, and yeah, just let them dry. And you can use them again, but they're comfortable, but a little bit cumbersome, you know. So here we are. This is the time lapse of me adding in some more lovely little embellishments to these deep, coasters, because that's what these are supposed to be, coasters. But I have to say they are quite heavy. So you could use them as paperweights or just as bits of decoration for your home, interior decor pieces. Totally up to you. So adding in lots of lovely different shells and shapes and starfish, and yeah, again, just into the UV resin. I just poured in a little bit more UV resin. Again, apologies for the lighting. I don't know why. It seems to be all hazy in this case. So now I'm adding in the little bits of silver coloured, I don't know if it's rocks or if it's just little, they're not sharp, if it's little fragments of glass or crystals, but they're silver in colour anyway. Little stones. And they just give that little extra decoration. There we go. So again, this has been sped up because, yeah, I took my time doing this. Be careful if you are using UV resin and you're sat near a window, because UV light will come through your window and start to cure your resin. So it's just things to be aware of. I did also add in the gold coloured little stone chips as well, which is what I'm doing now. There we go. Just putting in as much or as little as I wanted to into each one. There we go. So once I'd finished doing that and I was happy with everything that I put in, I decided at this point not to add the sand as well. It would have just been too much. Plus I was running out of room, as you can see. And yeah, here we go. A little bit of a flyover here viewpoint, where you can see all those extra little details that the shells, the little gold and silver pieces and the ammonites provide. But of course, this is Lottie Jasmine Designs, and it wouldn't be one of our videos if it didn't have a little bit of extra gold somewhere. So just putting a bit of bling to this ammonite. Now I do this on every one of the ammonites, and all I'm using is a decor colour gold chrome effect pen. Absolutely love these pens, love them. So very easily done, and I did that to every single one of them. So again, we've got a bit more of a warm light situation going on, but you can see all the elements in these coasters. They look absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. Right, so we just need to cure these up. So I'm just putting the biggest UV lamp that we have over the coasters. Now I had to do this in sections, cured them for 5 minutes at a time, because don't forget you haven't cured them yet. And then what we're doing now, once they've all completely cured, is we've mixed up some regular epoxy resin, 1:1 mixing ratio, and just filling up just to the top, remember, up to the brim, but never over the rim, so I was told by a certain artist. So just up to the very top, give it a little bit of a dome if that's the effect you want with the epoxy resin, and then just go around the edges of each of these molds, each of the cavities, with a stir stick to make sure no little bubbles are on the surface or clip, you know, attaching to it. Now, I then spritzed it with some isopropyl alcohol. This is the following day, and again, apologies for that overexposure of the light. Quite happy with the finish, apart from the resin has shrunk back slightly, and believe it or not, no matter how careful I was, we've got some bubbles. And the bubbles have come up because of the little shells, basically. Some air has got trapped in there at some point and they've come up. But, you know, that's the way it is. So we will show you how we resolve that. So this is the rest of the demold. This bit's been sped up. And then, you know, I need to check every single one of them to see, am I happy with the finish? Am I happy with what it looks like underneath? Did it give the effect I wanted? So just looking at them now, and I can see, look at that, it looks beautiful. Apologies, I know it's very bright and overexposed. But hopefully, like with the thumbnail and the end shots, you'll see exactly the sort of effects that we got. So just also making a mental note of, you know, what needs to be done on each one. I did have to do a little repair job to each one. So we're just going over, here you are. This is a bit of a better shot now. You may or may not be able to notice the little bubbles, honestly. And I babysat those for a good half hour, 45 minutes, but there we are. So I picked up one of the ones that's got a little bubble there. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. And all I've taken is, and this is a nail file or an emery board, and I'm just sanding down that area. Now I did also go in with a little pair of sharp scissors, which I don't show you, and just go in and snip it off down as level as I can to the rest of the surface of that coaster. Hopefully this is making sense. So I'm just getting out the bits of dust and seeing if there's anything else that's standing up proud of that area. There we go. Also went and then did that with the other bubble that is on there, and which I've not shown you here, but I have done that, and the rest of them that on the remaining 5 coasters. Now, I found what it does, I do best at correcting this by using UV resin. Yes, it's a lot of resin to use, a lot of UV resin to use, but it gives me the effect that I want. I didn't want to risk using epoxy resin because I feel when I'm trying to do the equivalent of a flood coat but not over the edges of the piece that you're working on, I have more control using UV resin than epoxy resin, but you do what you feel comfortable doing. And then all I've done is taken a little wooden stir stick and I'm just gently teasing the UV resin to the very edge of this piece. Now I've sped the rest of this video up because I took my time doing this. There we go. Just all the way around to the very edge. And then it's not razor sharp either. And where the resin, when it cured, had shrunk back slightly, gave me a nice little edge that I knew I had to fill the UV resin up to. There we go. And just a little note to everybody. Do make sure that you don't do what I did. You can probably see it's got a bit, well, I've got sort of like a gleam look to it. It's not completely clear. That is because I sprayed isopropyl alcohol on it and then cured it under the UV light. Don't use alcohol spray, isopropyl alcohol. Use a heat torch, but obviously don't use both because you'll have a fire. This is the very final shot now. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Bit of a labour of love, but I really love the finished result of these. They are stunning. And yes, maybe I'm a little bit obsessed with gold, but I'm allowed to be. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we will see you all again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.